back to How to Build Your YouTube Channel. Johnny here. Now, today we're talking about audio capture. We talked about editing your audio in your video editor of choice, and that's an important stage as well. But what you're dealing with there is actually the combination of in-game sounds plus your voice. And what we want to do here is treat the two tracks separately. Now, I'll just preface this with you could actually record two separate tracks, one for your voice and one for the in-game, and you can do that in OBS in the following way. Let me jump into OBS here. If you select your audio tracks and go into Advanced Audio Properties, you can actually select which track each source of audio will be ending up on. So I could say, for example, my desktop audio would be track 2. And in that way, you can then extract the second track of audio and pull that into your video editor and then just balance levels in there. So that's one option. If you don't want to do that, and I personally don't because I find it a little bit cumbersome to have to extract that audio. Premiere Elements does not support multi-audio track video files, which again, it's a little bit cumbersome for me to do that. What I do is I actually have different filters applied to each audio source. So let's just take a look at what I have for my mic here. So you can see the levels. I got a little bit of background music going, and then you can see my voice is consistently above that. But what I do on top of that is also apply some filters. And the order in which you apply the filters is important, right? So let's talk about it. First off, remember, this is just applied to my mic. So regardless of what the game sounds are, these are only applied to my voice. And the first thing that's applied is a noise gate. Now a noise gate, what it is there's a certain threshold that you determine, right? For which the program will say, okay, I consider that there is no input and therefore I just mute the audio source, right? So if I'm not talking like this, you could get a little bit of a hiss because any mic with a certain gain will have a little bit of a hiss, a hump. And it's not noticeable generally, but whenever you start applying compression and extra gain, that kind of thing, that might bring up the levels enough that it's an audible thing and you don't want to have audible noise in your signal, right? So the first thing I do is apply a little bit of a noise gate. So if ever I'm quiet, then you don't hear that level of signal. And one important setting here is that I have a pretty short release time and attack time. So what that means is it takes very little time for the noise gate to kick in, and also it doesn't stay active for long. So if I start talking, immediately the noise gate backs off and lets my audio come through. So that's important. Next thing I have in here is some compression. Again, we've talked about compression, and I'll refer you to my other video at the end of this one if you want to know more about my thoughts behind the different parameters that come into this. But the main idea behind this compression here is that if I'm ever screaming or speaking louder than usual, then those levels will be kind of brought down to the average. And at the same time, if I'm ever a little bit quiet for some reason, then that will be brought up as well. So I'm gonna end up with a nice and smooth level throughout my entire audio track for my vocals, hopefully. And again, I do have a little bit of gain here because I have a condenser microphone and the actual output of it is not all, it's not close to that 0 dB mark. So I do want to bring it up a little bit. And then the final thing I have is a little bit of noise suppression. And that just helps, again, just to eliminate any kind of hiss that my microphone produces because I'm adding some gain to it, right? So it's important. I think it's important to have this be very subtle because this does color the tone of your voice. And one thing I see a lot of YouTubers do is they apply a lot of noise suppression and their voice ends up sounding a little bit like it's in a can. And you never want that. You don't want this to color the tone of your voice at all, right? So I have a very subtle setting in here, but it is there because, again, there is a little bit of hum, and as you apply gain and bring that up, it becomes a little bit noticeable. So recently I've been working pretty hard to eliminate that altogether, and this has done it for me so far. So that's something you can try on your end. At the same time, for my in-game audio, I have some filters as well, so let's take a look. What I have is a compression filter, and the idea of this is, again, to limit if the in-game ever gets very loud, if I'm shooting guns or if there's a lot of stuff going on, it will limit that transient, so I'm not gonna get any nasty peaks in my signal level, right? So that's important. It will also bring up the quiet zones of the audio as well. So that's my first stage compression right there. And then after that, I also have some soft compression that I apply at the video editor stage. So those two combined give me a very nice, flat, leveled out signal output. That's all I had to say. I hope it was useful to you in some capacity. If it was, let me know in the comments or leave a like and subscribe for new videos every day. As always, thanks for watching. Catch you next time.